Alrighty, so it's time to do the review of the 10 games that happened yesterday, and in some way, I am kind of doing the same thing I did last week, where right after when the early morning Sunday game have just finished, I will be doing the review of the Saturday action, and I'm doing the same thing where the early game between the Chicago Fire versus Nashville SC have just finished, and no spoiler in terms of who actually got the big win in that game, as I'll talk about that game as part of the free games to wrap up match week number 27. That is going to be a video I will do later tonight. But as I said, I'm of course going to be doing the review of the 10 games that happened yesterday, and we start off the first game between the Philadelphia Union and Atlanta United. And in the end, the Union getting a big win against Atlanta in this one, as they won 1-0 against Atlanta in this one. And in some way, they could have won by more in this game if it wasn't for their finishing that wasn't really at their best in this game, and also the fact that Guzan really kept Atlanta in this game as long as possible and kept this one at 0-0 until the latter part of the second half. Now, in the first half, remember how I kind of gave some compliment toward the Twitter stream in the preview, and how I said, as bad as the Twitter stream has always been, it's gotten a little bit better with the commentating, and in some way kind of the quality-wise as it was last year and also a couple of years ago. Yeah, I take all that back after what I saw in this game, where the Twitter stream decided to go AWOL in the first 10 minutes. Like, it decided to not work whatsoever, and I have no idea what happened in the first 10 minutes of this game, and that the only thing I'm thankful is that at least from what I heard, there wasn't really much that happened in the first 10 minutes, and there wasn't even a goal that was scored in the first 10 minutes. But yeah, I mean, it just shows you that even if I tried to praise the Twitter stream, the MLS God's got to remind me that it is the Twitter stream, and it is absolutely awful. And that, I mean, I think this is kind of the only time the fact that the Twitter stream has had this problem where they didn't even show the game when the game of course started, and it just happened to be when I kind of praised them. And like I said, I take everything back of what I said about how the Twitter stream has gone better. No, it's still really bad, and in this game it got even worse with the way that this is the first I've ever seen a game that's going to be on Twitter that doesn't even show the first couple of minutes of the game, and it was late to record this one. So we pick up the action in the 12th minute, because like I said, they didn't show the first 10 minutes, so I have no idea what happened. But in the 12th minute, there was a mix-up at the back from the Union that almost cost them a goal. But then 4 minutes later, Atlanta also had a mix-up at the back, and Santos actually pickpocketed one of the defender, but unfortunately he was in an offside position, and actually, of course, pickpocket a back pass. But just 2 minutes later, Santos did have a shot that is deflected wide after a bad turnover from Atlanta. And, early in this game, I thought it was a lot of ill-advised defensive moment for both of these teams, in that both of these teams were very sloppy in terms of their defense. But in the 23rd minute, George Bello blasts one wide from long range before Guzan absolutely robbed Santos from point-blank range, although the flag did went up, so even if Santos finished that one in, the goal would have been disallowed for offside. But this is also when the Union really started to take over this game and never really kind of let Atlanta get into this game at all. As 4 minutes later, Santos hits it high from close range. Before, as I mentioned, the Union was pressing for the opener. Jose Martinez blasted high from long range before Guzan denied Shabilko from the near post, and then he denied Leon Falk just a minute ago in that near post too. And despite the fact that the Union was just putting all sorts of pressure against Atlanta, somehow in some way this game remains at 0-0 heading into the second half. So we go to the second half, and in the second half I did think that Atlanta was kind of on the front foot early in this, and it's almost felt like, whatever Gonzalo Pineda have said to his team, which he must be not happy with the performance that his team put in the first half, and he kind of fired up his team a little bit because they kind of started well. Marcelo Moreno hits one straight to Blake in the 53rd minute before Guzan did deny Wagner, and that unit did kind of start to get themselves back into this game after a bit of a slow start in the second half. Martinez then puts it high from long range in the 63rd minute. Before in the 70th minute, the Union finally got their deserved goal that they've been looking for and it's Kasper Schmeichel scoring from Jose Martinez to give the Union a 1-0 lead. And that's actually the last note that I wrote on this board, because really for the last 20 minutes of the game, there wasn't really much that happened. I mean, the Union, they did try to go for a second goal, but they weren't really creating a lot of chance. In Atlanta, I didn't really see them having any pushback late in this game to really trying to push for a late equalizer. And overall, the Union, of course, winning 1-0 against Atlanta. As the shots in this one, 18 shots compared to 6 that Atlanta has, 9 shots on goal compared to 2 that Atlanta has, 5 shots off target compared to 2 that Atlanta has, 4 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that Atlanta has, and possession-wise, dead even at 50% between both of these teams. And like I said, it's a huge win for the Union, and now they have jumped themselves all the way up, I believe, in 4th place in the Eastern Conference. Yeah, the East is very crazy right now with the way that a lot of teams around the playoff line and all the way up, I think, to 3rd place in the Eastern Conference are so jumbled up. So even if you get a win, you can really jump your way up the table depending on how the result goes. And it seems like the Union definitely got some favorable result, because they jumped from being the last team being in the playoffs in 7th place to all the way up to 4th place. But for Atlanta United, I think they are still above the red line right now. But yeah, this was definitely one of the worst performances they have in the season, and it's unsurprising that they have one of the worst performances this season when Jose Martinez was not in the starting 11. They really missed Joseph in this game, and I don't know why he did not start in this game. Maybe he picked up a knock, but hopefully he'll be back with this Atlanta team in the next game, because you can definitely see that they miss his presence, especially going forward on the attack. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is New England versus Orlando City. So New England, of course, make history in this game as after they were able to win 2-1 against Orlando City, have the most points they have ever had in their franchise history in regular season at 62 points, and they are getting pretty close to potentially reaching another big record, which is potentially breaking LAFC in terms of the most point ever in a regular season. I mean, they're only 3 wins away to do so, and I believe they still have about 8 games left in the season. And yeah, I'm eventually going to have to do that video talking about New England and comparing LAFC and the historic run that they are going through, and even talk about whether or not if the Revs could reach that mark and get past that 71 point mark by the end of the regular season. But that being said, in this game, yeah, this was definitely another one of those games for the Revs where they were definitely not looking at their best. But this is the thing about the Revs. Even when they're not at their best, and even though at times they look kind of second best, they still find a way to pull out all 3 points at the end of the day. And in the first half, they mentioned early that the football lines on the field was actually there because they were expecting heavy rain after the match is over. And I'll give them that as an excuse, because I feel like Gillette Stadium has done a really good job in terms of the fact that, whenever I see a Revs game, even during football season, they do a really good job in terms of erasing the football lines and erasing any kind of Patriots kind of thing that is on that pitch. And in this game, obviously you can clearly see it, but it's also because of the fact that I think they left it on because when you have heavy rain, there is just no way you can make that football lines in the rain. So I'll give them this as an excuse, the fact that unfortunately we have to deal with the football lines kind of overlapping the soccer dimension, and that I can see why some Eurosnub will still say that MLS is kind of bush league, with the way that you still see this kind of almost old school kind of MLS vibe where we remember back in the early 2000 when pretty much every MLS team was playing in a NFL or college stadium, and we had that issue, and it's hard to believe that we're still having this issue in 2021, but that's kind of unfortunate, and it's also kind of an example why a lot of Revs fans want this team eventually to build a soccer specific stadium. Now in the 9th minute, New England gets out to an early lead as Buxa was able to score from Bo and McNamara to give the Revs a 1-0 lead. And I thought early on it was all Revs in this one. Like, I thought this was going to get ugly for Orlando City. Buxa could have made it 2-0 as he blasted high from close range. But then in the 70th minute, out of nowhere, Orlando City got the equalizer. And it's Daryl DK, the one that is able to get the equalizer and even beat his old college teammate Matt Turner to do so. But in some way, I feel like Turner should have done better here. I mean, yes, DK did hit this shot very hard, and it's a kind of a low driven effort where it's going to be very difficult to kind of save if you're a goalkeeper. But with the caliber of a goalkeeper that Matt Turner is, especially the one that I think he's definitely going to have a good shot of winning goalkeeper of the year. That's one that he definitely wants that to have back. So yeah, the game of course was all tied up at 1 apiece, and this really kind of changed the momentum because after this, Orlando City was fancying themselves to take the lead. DK almost had a chance to do so, but he fluffed his lines from close range in the 23rd minute. And I even wrote Orlando, after being under siege so early in this game, somehow they found a way in this game and was really pressing for that second goal. Although in the 27th minute, Turner did redeem himself after giving up that soft goal as he absolutely robbed on Pereira, who in the back post, who was just wide open. And then 8 minutes later, New England was able to retake the lead. As originally, I thought this was going to be the second goal for Buxa because the ball that was there in, it looked like Buxa basically just kind of tapped that one in. But in the end, it looks like it was Schlegel, the one that actually tapped it into his own net. But New England wouldn't care because they're up 2-1 in this game. And again, it was kind of a goal that I think it was kind of against the run of play because Orlando up to that point ever since they got the equalizer was the better team. But there was a shout for a penalty in the 44th minute for the refs that was not given. It was a handball that the refs faithful was shouting for, but nothing was given there. And we head to halftime with New England leading 2-1 against Orlando City. So in the second half, there was also a shout for a penalty for Orlando this time, as Benji Michel thought that he was brought down in the box, but nothing was given there. Pereira then had a diving header that is missed wide before Junior Urso lines up a shot that was blocked by his own teammate. But again, Orlando was definitely pushing for an equalizer, but that chances of them potentially pushing an equalizer looked like it was all up in flames just 1 minute after I wrote that, because DeJuan Jones basically scored the goal and looked like it was going to be 3-1 in favor of New England, but the flag came up. So that, of course, is offside and the goal was disallowed. And then just 1 minute later, all of a sudden on the other end, there was a penalty that was given to Orlando. So you talk about a change of event where Orlando almost looked like they were going to lose this game and New England was going to kill this one, to now Orlando potentially have a chance to equalize as the penalty was given because Andrew Fell brought down DK in the box. And of course, in the 73rd minute, Nani of course stepped up for the penalty, and his penalty was denied by Matt Turner. And let's just say that was not a great penalty whatsoever from Nani. And when I saw Nani stepped up for that penalty, I had a feeling he was going to miss, because we've seen this before with Nani. He's not a good penalty kick taker for Orlando City, and I get that he is the most important player for this team and he does come up with big moments, but if it's from the penalty spot, you can guarantee that he's not going to come up with, and it's unsurprising that of course is the case. Like, he literally hit this one right down Broadway from a low driven shot, and although Turner kind of committed himself, he did able to kind of at the last second readjust himself and easily deny that one away. But like I said, I mean, that is just not a great penalty, and this is going to be something that I think Orlando City is going to have to figure out, where they just cannot put Nani from the spot anymore, because again, this is not the first time we've seen him miss a penalty in big moment. But that penalty kick miss, they kind of woke up New England a little bit, because they know that, yeah, even though they're leading 2-1 in this game, you know, the Orlando has the ability to try to get that equalizer. So they really started to press for the third goal, as Buxa tried to stab it in from the back post, but he missed wide in the 78th minute. Before Buxa had another chance from the 84th minute, but he puts it wide from long range. I mean, Adam Buxa had so many chances in this game, and even though he did get on the score sheet in this one, he'll be very frustrated with the fact that he only got one goal in this one. And then in the 85th minute, the post denied Gustavo Bo and a chance for the Revs to kill this game up. And as the time, of course, wind down, Orlando was really pushing to try to get the equalizer, but in the end, New England was able to survive and win 2-1 in this game. As the shots in this one, 13 shots apiece for both of these teams. Only one shot on goal compared to 3 that Orlando City has. So a lot of those chances that New England has was actually not on target. They had 7 shots off target for the 5 that Orlando City has. Both teams had 5 shots on his block, and possession-wise, 55% possession compared to 45% possession that Orlando City has in this game. And like I said, New England, not a vintage performance in terms of their standards, and I'm pretty sure Bruce Arena probably is not happy with the way that how his team was able to get an ugly 3 points in this one, but he'll definitely take it as their march toward history and getting the most point in a regular season continue. But for Orlando City, that's now 4 straight loss that they suffered, and I think they have now got themselves all the way down to 6th place in the Eastern Conference. And like I said, they cannot afford to have this bad losing run keep going, and it's not going to get easier to try to staff that losing streak in the next game, because in the next game they have to go on the road to play against Nashville SC, and a team that it is basically have not lost a single home game this season. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, is Columbus. And this was a must win for Columbus against Montreal if they want to stay into the Eastern Conference playoff race. And they got the win that they needed the most by winning 2-1 against Montreal. Although early on, I thought Montreal was actually the better side. They were on the front foot, although Pedro Santos has the first real chance as he's driving a shot that was actually spilled by Pentemis, but he was able to recover before any Crew player can maybe stab that juicy rebound that Pentemis allowed. And then in the 18th minute, Bush was able to deny Kyoto, so Evan Bush, of course, getting the start in this game in relief of Eloy Rome, and he definitely had a good game against his former team in this one. But the same goes with Pentemis, where even though he gave up 2 goals in this game, I don't think either of them was really his fault. But he denied Liam Frazier, who tried to score an absolute rocket of a shot, and maybe even a shot that could potentially win goal of the week if it goes in. But Pentemis was able to deny that one. Before in the 44th minute, we get ourselves our first goal of the game as Jarzy Zardes scored for Etienne to make it 1-0 in favor of Columbus. And this has got to be good news if you're a Crew fan, seeing Jarzy Zardes now start to score goals, and of course scoring now 2 games in a row, and it won't be the last time it will be scored tonight, because as we head into the second half, Marlon Hairston did have a chance to make it 2-0, but he kind of took a one-hopper shot that goes straight to Pentemis before Piet Kroller just missed one in the 50th minute, and then Joaquin Torres drew one that goes just high off the post. And Montreal was definitely trying to push to get an equalizer in the early part of the second half, but then in the 62nd minute, Columbus make sure that was not going to happen, because they would score to make it 2-0 in favor of Montreal. And again, it's Jarzy Zardes scoring from Darlington Nagbe, and there's no doubt that this is going to be a goal of the week contention. Like, Zardes basically hits this one not only from long range, but he basically hit it upper 90 in terms of this one. And when you hit that one into the upper 90, no goalkeeper in the world is gonna save it. And I always love when those ones that is hit right at the top left corners of the post. And as I said, I think this is definitely going to be in contention for goal of the week, and probably will win goal of the week with the way that it was hit so nicely, this one. But yeah, there was no doubt that with this 2-0 lead, the momentum was now with the Columbus Crew. They could have made it 3-0, but Pedro Santos curler just goes a little bit high before Bush was able to deny Milivojevic from long range in the 72nd minute. And as the time wind down, the Crew kind of started to drop their lines, and they were trying to preserve a 2-0 lead and preserve the clean sheet for Evan Bush. But unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be, because in the first minute of stoppage time, Kyoto will break up that clean sheet to make it 2-1 in this game, and kind of set up a grandstand finish in the last 3 minutes of stoppage time. But thankfully for Columbus, they were able to preserve this 2-1 lead and prevent Montreal with a miraculous comeback in stoppage time. And again, the Crew getting a huge 2-1 win in this one, as the shots in this one, 10 shots created, 11 that Montreal has, 6 shots on goal for the 4 that Montreal has, 2 shots off target for the 5 that Montreal has. Both teams had 2 shots of his block, and possession-wise, 42% possession compared to 58% possession that Montreal has in this game. And I believe with this loss, I think Montreal is now back below below the red line right now. And like I said, a lot can change in the Eastern Conference with the way that one loss can mean that you can really find yourself back down below the red line, and one win could potentially find yourself back above the red line and so forth. But that being said, moving on into the next match is DC against FC Cincinnati, and this is probably one of the most predictable results of this season. As you know, DC of course take care of business against FC Cincinnati, and you know, as I said in the preview, as much as I'm not really want to disrespect FC Cincinnati, but this has been happening almost every game. Whenever they play against a big team, you know they're gonna get absolutely destroyed, and it definitely looked like it in this game. Where, you know, don't be fooled by the fact that Cincinnati, you know, at least kind of keep this close. It was 4-0 at one point in this game, and it could have been worse in this one if DC would have been being very clinical in this game, and maybe even put 5 or 6 past Cincinnati in this one. Because early on, they had a good opportunity 5 minutes in, but Teton was able to deny Donovan Pines from close range. But in the 7th minute, they would get the opening goal of this game, as Paul Arriola would score from Gresso and Flores to make it 1-0 in favor of DC. Before 13 minutes later, they double that lead, and it's Burbon scoring from Gresso again to make it 2-0 in favor of FC Cincinnati. And I even wrote, here we go again for Cincinnati. Like that, I think that's probably the feeling that Cincy fans probably had when they saw their team down 2-0, and that they know what's going to happen. They're going to get absolutely destroyed and pretty much getting blown out of the window. Though in the 37th minute, they did have a chance to get one back, as Hamid actually made a great save to deny Cruz, and then on the follow-up, Acosta hits the post. But you know, we've seen before where you know, this old cliche of the fact that when you play against a team that's much more superior than you are, you have to put away the chances when it's given to you, and when you don't put away your chances, you're gonna basically get punished. And they got punished immediately. That is FC Cincinnati, as 4 minutes later, it would be 3-0 in favor of DC, as Arriola would score again from Flores and Gresso to make it 3-0 in favor of DC, and that would be the score heading into the second half. Now, in the second half, it was almost 4-0, but Reyna puts it wide from close range, as it's pretty clear that DC was not just going to settle with free goals. Like, this is kind of one thing that we know about Hernan Losada team, where he's not satisfied. The fact that his team, even at 3-0, that they should just put the pedal off the gas, and that you kind of seen a couple of times where he loves this relentless kind of ways, and you know, at times it kind of works out, but then there's also times where it kind of come back to haunt him. But at least in this time, you know, when you're up 3-0, you can try to maybe be a little bit greedy to try to get more. Though in the 62nd minute, Hamid was able to deny Bretner and a chance for Cincinnati to maybe get one back. But then 10 minutes later, Roberta would score from Birnbaum to make it 4-2 4-0 in favor of DC United. So Steven Birnbaum getting an assist and also getting a goal. Very rare you see him being on the score sheet or even on the assist sheet at the same time, but that's what happened in this one. Now, I will also say this was kind of a bit of a controversial goal, because originally when this goal was scored, the offside flag was already up before this goal went in. Now, they go to VAR and they overrule the original offside decision, but what they also did is that they count the goal. Now, I'm pretty sure Cincinnati fans will not be happy with this, and in some way I think they have a right to not be happy with this, because you know, it throughout this season and really for the past couple of seasons, linesmen has been instructed to put their flag down unless you're really sure that it is offside, and in this sequence the linesman did not do that. He raised his flags up before the end of this play, and you know, obviously the Cincinnati players have basically stopped playing because they think it's offside, and Roberto basically scored. But again, I just feel like this was kind of weird, the fact that they still count the goal in the end. Now, fortunately, at least this happened right when this game is kind of a blowout, and I think Cincinnati fans, they're not really worried about that, other than the fact that they're probably already stopped watching the game, or already gone down to the local bar to kind of drown their sorrows of seeing another blowout that they suffer on the road. But you know, imagine if this happened in a game like, let's say, the MLS Cup, and that happened, boy, oh boy, that's going to be a very big talking point because, again, at the end of the day, I just feel like that feels wrong with the way that the goal should have counted, even though the flag was already up and everybody stopped playing. And I know some people will say, well, that's why you played to the whistle, but the flag was up and the whistle was already blown. So, yeah, I mean, you're playing to the whistle in some sense, but either way, it is 4-0, even with the controversial goal. Though it could have been 5-0 just 4 minutes later if the post did not deny Reyna from long range. I mean, Jordi Reyna really wanted to join it in the goal scoring party, but he was very unlucky to not do so. But in the 80th minute, Cincinnati did get a consolation as Brendan Vasquez just came on the pitch scoring from Yaya Kubo to make it 4-1 in favor of Cincinnati. They would get another consolation goal just 2 minutes later, or 4 minutes later, as Acosta would make it 4-2 in favor of FC Cincinnati from Brendan Vasquez. But in many ways, yeah, that was not good defending whatsoever for DC. And, Lucho Acosta haunting his old team, and he actually didn't celebrate after this goal, which, not just because of the fact that, his team is pretty much not going to come back from this, but he's just being respectful because of the fact that he is a former DC player. I'm pretty sure a lot of DC fans still love what Lucho Acosta did, especially that 2018 season with the Lucha Rue partnership. But yeah, he scored here to kind of haunt his home team to make it 4-2. And, I know some people will think that Cincinnati maybe has a chance. Nah, I didn't think so, because in the 3rd minute of stoppage time, it could have been 5-2. But Titan absolutely robbed Roberta. And then on the follow-up, Titan was able to deny Felipe from 10 yards out. In the end, DC able to win 4-2 in this game against FC Cincinnati, as the shots in this game, 19 shots committed, 15 that Cincinnati has, 8 shots on goal committed, 6 that Cincinnati has, 6 shots off target committed, 5 that Cincinnati has, 5 shots out of block committed, 4 that Cincinnati has, and possession-wise, 46% possession compared to 54% possession that Cincinnati has in this game. And, overall, this was probably the most predictable resort, or one of the most predictable resort of this season, because, whenever a much superior team face against FC Cincinnati, this is going to be the result that you're going to see this season. But that being said, moving on into the next match is going to be Colorado and Toronto FC. And if you're a Rapids fan, there is starting to be some concern, because this team all of a sudden have stopped scoring goals. Like, these last couple of games, in fact, these last 6 games that they have, they only score more than 1 goal, only once. And that game, I would even maybe put a caveat, because the way that, even though they scored 2 goals against the Portland Timbers, one of those goals were kind of like a Rando Leao-esque goal, where it was kind of like a shot cross that, they kind of got a little bit lucky by scoring that one. But other than that, they have not scored more than 1 goal in these last 6 games. And in this one, they didn't even score a goal against TFC in a game that, yeah, this will definitely rival as well the most boring game of the season, where pretty much nothing happened in this one. And in the first half, it looked like that was the narrative, because it was a very slow start to this game, and the first shot didn't happen until the 10th minute, when Satado basically puts a shot that goes right to Yarbrough, before Barrios had a header that missed high from close range in the 11th minute. Colorado, of course, had all the possession, but they just could not create much in the final third. And in some way, I think the reason why this was kind of a little bit boring was TFC basically just parked the bus in this game. Like, they literally just showed up at Denver for this game, or actually not Denver, but Commerce Park, because that's where Dick's Sporting Goods Park is actually at. But they basically showed up in this game, and they just kind of parked the bus. And the Rapids, a team that's not known in terms of trying to break down a bunker defense, had a lot of trouble to do so. Though in the 43rd minute, Estevez then hits it high on the free kick before we head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams. In the second half, Soteldo did curl one that goes high before he had another chance just 7 minutes later, also tried to curl one in from outside the box, but that one missed high. Then Kellen Acosta puts it high from long range, and that, both teams did kind of started getting half chances in the second half, but again, neither of them really kind of trouble both goalkeeper. Schaffelberg then puts one wide from close range before, in the 4th minute of stoppage time, Rubio was able to head it wide from close range. And yeah, that's pretty much it of all the action that happened in this game. And like I said, not much note in this game because of the way that it was relatively an uneventful one. And the shots in this one, surprisingly, there was actually 18 shots combined in this game. Like, with the way how this game went, you would feel like there was less than that. But there was 10 shots compared to 8 that Toronto has. 1 shots on goal compared to 2 that Toronto has. 6 shots off target compared to 4 that TFC had. 3 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that TFC had. And possession-wise, Colorado has more of the possession, 62% possession compared to 38% possession that TFC has in this game. And like I said, here are the Rapids. There's got to be some concern with the way that, this team all of a sudden, they're not losing games, but they're starting to draw a lot of games. And I said before, when you start drawing a lot of games, it does not help you whatsoever when other team around you start to get victory. And not to mention the fact that if they cannot get out of this goal dry spell that they've been going through these last couple of games, this team is not really going to do much in the playoffs. And I mean, I talked about a couple of weeks ago where I thought this team was a team that you do not want to face in the playoffs. Well, now it just feels like this is the team that you want to face in the playoffs with the way that the Rapids are struggling and aren't able to find a way to score goals and get wins in the last couple of games. And remember, in the playoffs, you cannot just draw games and expect to move on to the next round, because you got to, of course, win the game with the single elimination kind of playoffs in this one. But yeah, we'll see whether or not if the Rapids can potentially solve their goal scoring drought heading into the next game. But that being said, moving on into the next match is Minnesota against the Houston Dynamo. So in some way, this game was very similar to the last game that the Loons had, where they scored 2 early goals in this game and kind of were a little bit optimistic for the rest of the game to try to score the 3rd goal. And then in the latter part of this game, they just kind of pack it in and hope to try to get themselves another clean sheet. Although, unlike this game compared to the last one against the Galaxy, Minnesota did not get that 3rd goal. And in some way, in the last 20 minutes of this game, yeah, it kind of got a little bit hairy. And I feel like they was just being a little bit too casual in terms of how they finish off this game. And in some way, they're kind of lucky, the fact that they did not concede a goal, and that Tyler Miller really had a good game and really kind of earned his clean sheet in this one. But in the first half, like I said, the Loons got off to a quick start, and they got even a quicker start than last week. Just 1 minute in, Robin Led was able to score from Reynoso to make it 1-0 in favor of Minnesota. And it's good the fact that I actually did start watching the team, because I think at about 5:07 my time, I just realized, oh crap, I gotta switch to the Minnesota versus Houston game, and I switched just in time to see this goal go in to give the Loons a 1-0 lead. Le then tried to get a second one, but his shot was skimmed off the outside of the post. But again, it was a strong start from the Loons again. Very encouraging to see this team get off to a strong start, especially in a game where I even say that this is like a must-win game, knowing the fact that they're playing the worst team, well, not the worst team, but one of the worst team right now in the Western Conference, that is the Dynamo. And they would make it 2-0 just a couple of minutes later, as Ethan Finley would make it 2-0 in favor of Minnesota. But in many ways, this was a bad mistake from Tim Parker. Like, he literally just gave this ball away to Finley in the box, and Finley basically said, "Thank you very much, I'm just going to slot this one in." Although this actually was kind of partially saved from Nelson, but he just could not quite keep that one in. In fact, I think Valentin tried to clear that one off the line, but the ball just crossed the line to make it 2-0 in favor of Minnesota. And I also kind of wrote, this could get ugly for Houston, because knowing the fact how the first 17 minutes gone, I mean, the Loons were just kind of blowing Houston out of the window. Now, eventually they did start to get back into this game, and Miller did get tested in the 31st minute, as he was able to deny Quintero from close range. Kyoto is no longer with the Dynamo. In fact, he hasn't been with the Dynamo for a couple of years, ever since that trade to Montreal. But yeah, one guy that is now with the Dynamo, and a former Loons player, is Darwin Quintero, and he almost haunted his old team, but Miller was able to deny him there. Before, on the other end, Nelson was able to deny, or actually not, he didn't deny Miller, the goalkeeper, but I think, oh god, I forgot who exactly it was. I think it might have been been Robin Lod that was going through on goal. Or actually, it might be Ethan Finley that was going through on goal, but Nelson wasn't able to save that. Before Boxall almost had a disastrous moment as he almost scored an own goal where I think he was trying to clear this one away, but he basically kind of completely mishit this clearance and almost hits it over the head of Tyler Miller, but Miller was able to prevent it. And I basically wrote, yeah, the Loons, they got to be careful not to concede before halftime, because yes, a 2-0 lead right now is nice, but if you give up one goal, yeah, that just invites the Dynamo a chance to get back into this game. And I've seen this before where the Loons have that lapse of concentration. They gave up one goal and all of a sudden they start to be kind of panicking, and next thing you know, the opposition have a chance to get the equalizer. But it was huge the fact that they did head to halftime with a 2-0 lead, and in the second half they did try to go for that third goal as Trapp hit one that goes straight to Nelson in the 57th minute before Nelson denied Lod on the free kick, and then Alonso tried to basically score on the follow-up, but he puts that one high from long range. But yeah, the Loons were trying to finish this game off with the third goal. They could have got the third goal in the 75th minute if it wasn't for the post getting in the way of Ethan Finley's shot. The Wonderwall chant was actually, was actually chanting for VAR, thinking that one crossed the line, and yeah, no. That did not cross the line. And I don't know how they even chant VAR for that. Like, that was literally right in front of the Wonderwall, and come on guys, you can't just chant VAR when that thing is literally right in front of you. Like, if it's happened on the other end, then yeah, it's understandable, but when it happened right in front of you, that feels really stupid to kind of just chant VAR and thinking the ball crossed the line when it was pretty clear that it did not cross the line whatsoever. But in the 80th minute, this is when Houston really started to try to get that one goal back. And Miller was able to deny Quintero in the near post in the 80th minute before he denied Bear in the 86th minute. And that Houston was really started to push to try to set up a grandstand finish in this game. In the 89th minute, Miller was able to deny Rodriguez. And then when stoppage time was shown and that there was only like 2 minutes of stoppage time, which was not really a lot in this game. Like, I thought we were going to get a chunk of stoppage time, but I basically immediately wrote, thank goodness there's only 2 minutes of stoppage time, because if there was like maybe 9 minutes of stoppage time, even with Minnesota leading 2-0, I was getting very concerned the fact that they are going to concede that goal, and all of a sudden they're going to be in a panic stage, and next thing you know, Houston was going to have a chance to complete a miraculous comeback in stoppage time. But in the end, it wasn't meant to be, because there was just not enough stoppage time for Houston to overcome the 2-0 deficit. And in the end, Minnesota gets the much-needed 2-0 win. And the shots in this one, 12 shots compared to 15 that Houston had, 6 shots on goal compared to 7 that Houston has, 6 shots off target compared to 3 that Houston has, no shots that was blocked compared to 5 that Houston has, and possession-wise, 49% possession compared to 51% possession that Houston has. And with this win, the Loons are now up to 6th place in the Western Conference, and they're still not that comfortable in terms of where they are in the standings to make it to the playoffs. But at least knowing the fact that they have been able to get wins against teams that they haven't, when you're in a playoff race, you simply have to beat these lesser teams if you want to keep pace with them, because if you don't beat them, then it really puts a lot of pressure on you. Have to beat against the more superior team, and we've seen this season Minnesota has had problems against superior team and haven't been able to get wins against them. But that being said, I am now going to switch boards and look at the last 4 games that happened in the Saturday night action. But yeah, moving on, in terms of the next match is none other than the New York Derby. And this New York Derby was very similar to the one that we saw on Wednesday, where once again, this was a game where there was a lot of chances for both of these teams. And in some way, I was kind of surprised the fact that there was only 1 goal that was scored in this game. And I think the only reason why there was 1 goal scored in this game was that there were some bad finishing from both of these teams. But also both goalkeepers kind of stole the show a little bit, making some big saves to keep this one as low score as it is. But early in this game, just 1 minute in, Maxi Morales missed wide from close range before Cornell was able to deny Morales in the 6th minute. But then on the other end, Cáceres hits a free kick that goes straight to Sean Johnson. And I even wrote, just like Wednesday, chances were starting to fly in both ends early. And Fernandez had a chance to give the Red Bulls the lead just 9 minutes in, but he struck the post in the near post. It kind of rhymes a little bit. Struck the post in the near post. Actually, try to say that like 10 times fast, and you're gonna get probably like a tongue twister. But either way, fast forward into the 38th minute. James Sands almost scored an own goal as he kind of ill-advisedly redirect that shot toward his own goal, but fortunately Sean Johnson was able to gather that one. But then 4 minutes later, we do finally get the opening goal of this New York derby, and it's Omar Fernandez, the Bronx kid, scoring from Duncan and Davis to give the Red Bulls a 1-0 lead. But that being said, just 2 minutes later, NYCFC was looking to try to go for the equalizer, and I thought Castellanos probably could have scored the goal of the week here too, because he basically goes on his bike but just missed high there. I mean, he did connect that one relatively well. Actually, he didn't really connect that one relatively well, but it was kind of in a way where it was kind of like a looping kind of shot that almost goes over the head of Cornell, but fortunately that one just goes high over the bar as the Red Bulls were able to hold on to that 1-0 lead heading into the second half. Now in the second half, Castros did puts it high from close range before Johnson was able to deny Yearwood from 14 yards out in the 54th minute. And I thought the Red Bulls kind of started the second half the better team, and they were pushing for a second goal. But then, right as I wrote that, Cornell was able to deny Forensen on the free kick, but then he kind of allowed a big rebound, but unfortunately there was no NYCFC player in the vicinity, and that NYCFC could not capitalize. In the 61st minute, Johnson was able to deny Token from long range before Castellanos goes through on goal, and I thought this was the moment that, you know, Tati Castellanos is going to haunt the Red Bulls again, scoring against his favorite opponent. But somehow, in some way, Andre Reyes with some great recovery to pickpocket Castellanos just as he was about to shoot that one. But then just 1 minute later on the same end, Cornell was able to rob Castellanos from close range. I think this was a point-blank effort that Tati Castellanos had, and once again, the chances was flying in for both teams, and you know, I thought for sure we're going to get another goal in this one before the end of this. Just 7 minutes later, Cornell was able to rob Medina from point-blank range, before on the other end, Sean Johnson was able to deny Yearwood shot from point blank, and then Barlow did go through on goal in the 88th minute, but he missed that one wide. And then there was one last chance for NYCFC to get the equalizer in the 90th minute, but Thiago hits that one high. And unlike on Wednesday, there was no late drama that we saw where there was a penalty very late in this one, and eventually which result in the Red Bulls able to come back, but only in this case it would have been NYCFC the one that was able to come back. But still, this game was very similar to Wednesday, but in the end it was the Red Bulls getting the 1-0 win. And the shots in this one, 16 shots compared to 14 that NYCFC had, 4 shots on goal compared to 6 that the Red Bulls had, 8 shots off target compared to 7 that NYCFC had, 3 shots that was blocked compared to 2 that the Red Bulls had, and possession-wise, NYCFC had the better possession, 65% possession compared to 35% possession that the Red Bulls has in this game. And one thing I also want to mention is that unlike Wednesday, I didn't really see as a heated kind of match as what we saw on Wednesday, because remember how I talked about on Wednesday, especially in the latter part of the game, where it really started to feel like a New York derby with the way that the challenge were flying in and the temperature of the game was getting heated. This one wasn't really kind of the case. I mean, this one was kind of a fairly cool-headed kind of New York derby. But that being said, you know, the chances that both of these teams had and the great save that both goalkeeper made kind of made up for an entertaining New York derby. And like I said, it's kind of shocking the fact that there's only one goal that's scored in this game, but at the end of the day, if you're a Red Bulls fan, they don't care if there's only one goal scored at the end of the game, because they were the only team that scored that one goal to get the 1-0 win against NYCFC. And, you know, they still have a lot of ground to make up if they want to get back into the playoff race. I believe it's a 7-point gap that they have to make up. But, you know, with how crazy this season has been, and, you know, especially down, they still have enough game to make it up. You know, if they can go on a run a little bit, maybe they can get themselves back into a playoff position. But for NYCFC, this has got to be a frustrating resort, and it definitely does not help their chances if they want to keep themselves in a spot where they can at least host one playoff game at home. But now moving on, in terms of the next match, okay, I'm convinced that I am officially a bad luck charm to the San Jose Earthquakes. Like, I even said this back in the preview. I guarantee you that the Quakes are going to win this game against LAFC because you know what? I'm not going to attend this game. And this, I think, is the third game that I've missed this season for the Quakes. And somehow, on all three of these games that I missed, going to PayPal Park to watch the Quakes play, they won all three of them. Meanwhile, the other 10 games that I've been, they've only won once. And that one win was all the way back in opening day against FC Dallas. And that, you know, the crazy thing is the fact that I actually am even thinking about going to the Wednesday game against the Seattle Sounders, which, you know, in some way I probably will quietly make way into the stadium and not let anybody know that I'm actually there, because, you know, if some people watch this video and they know I'm there, they probably are going to try to kick me out, knowing the fact that, again, it's been proven, the fact that I've been just such a bad luck charm for the Quakes this season. But all kidding aside, you know, when you look at this game, this was an impressive victory for the Quakes, and in some way a much needed victory with the way that, you know, following up of that incredible 4-4 win against Austin FC, and after just a chaotic week that the Quakes had last week, you know, they need to follow up in a week where let's try not to make it too chaotic and try to get themselves just a convincing 3 points so that they can keep themselves in the playoff race. And they did exactly that by winning 2-0 against LAFC. And they even got an early goal to get off to a good start as Kikanovic would score in the 3rd minute from Chofis to make it 1-0 in favor of the Quakes. I mean, Chofis is just red hot right now. Like, not only the fact that he's scoring goals, but he's now trying to be the assist man, and I have a feeling, you know, I know Chofis is still on loan with Chivas, but in the winter transfer window, please sign him to a permanent deal, because he has really exceeded all expectation of what I expected him to be this year, and that, yeah, he is just a man in form right now, getting on the assist chart, and I'll talk about a little bit later. He once again get on the score sheet again. But in the 14th minute, Ringo did go for a goal on the free kick, but missed high. By the way, because LAFC did not score in this game, that means Chicho Ringo unfortunately have his streak comes to an end, where I think he have scored 6 straight games coming into this one, but that streak comes to an end. But he almost had a chance to extend his streak here, but again, he had his shot on the free kick just missed a little bit high before Nathan heads it high from a free kick in the 20th minute. And then there was a huge shout for a penalty kick in the 33rd minute as Espinoza looked like he was brought down by Arango. Now, I didn't really get a good look at this, but in some way, I guess maybe Espinoza kind of brought him down. Like, the big question is, did Espinoza kind of embellish that a little bit? And certainly the LAFC player felt like he embellished that foul a little bit, but nevertheless, there was no penalty that was given here. But there was no doubt that the Quakes were pushing to try to get that second goal, but they do head to halftime with a 1-0 lead. But in the second half, they would get that second goal just 2 minutes in, as Chofis, as I mentioned, a man that is in form right now, he scored from Marcos Lopez to make it 2-0 in favor of the Quakes. And then it could have been 3-0 just 8 minutes later, but Remedi struck the post on the header. And again, it's a positive start for the Quakes, and it's very encouraging to see the fact that this team just doesn't take their foot off the gas early in the second half and looking to try to get that third goal. Like, there's been time I've seen this team just after they get that first goal, they get too comfortable, and next thing you know, they can see on the other end. But in the 57th minute, former Quakes player Misfatsky almost haunt his old team, but he hits one into the side netting from close range before Raheem Edwards did go through and go and try to chip it over Mark Sinkowski, but that one struck the post. But there was no doubt that LAFC was starting to push to try to get one back, and this is also kind of where I started to get worried with the Quakes, where they started to put their foot off the gas a little bit too early in this game and just wanted to see out this 2-0 win, even though we still have like 25 minutes left in this one. But ultimately, they were able to keep their good defensive shape and also get the clean sheet in this one, as in the end, they get the 2-0 victory over LAFC. And the shots in this one, 7 shots compared to 13 that LAFC had, 2 shots on goal compared to 3 that LAFC had, 9 shots off target compared to 3 that the Quakes had, 2 shots that was blocked compared to 1 that LAFC had, and possession-wise, 49% possession compared to 51% possession that LAFC has. And I believe when I look in the Western Conference table, I believe there's now like a freeway tie right now at 33 points between 8th, 9th, and 10th place. Although that being said, I think the gap between the last team above the red line and the team that is the first team out of the red line is now at 4 points, because I know Minnesota, of course, getting the win, were able to jump themselves up to 6th place, and RSL, even though, as I'll talk about a little later, that they got the huge loss against the Portland Timbers, there was already a little bit ahead of teams that was below the red line. So yeah, all those teams that's tied at 33 points, they still have some points to make up, but at least it just kind of shows you that you know now all these teams are starting to really try to set up for this home stretch of trying to get above the playoffs. And right now, at least for the Quakes in these last couple of games, they're definitely set themselves up in a good position, because again, they do play, even though I know they have a really tough game the next game against the Seattle Sounders, which they probably lose that one because I'm probably going to be at the stadium. They do still have, after the Sounders, I think that's one of the last team that they're going to be playing that is in the playoff position. Well, actually, they have the Portland Timbers later on the road, but a lot of the teams from now to the end of the season are teams that is around them in the playoffs. And when you play a lot of these teams that you're trying to fight to try to make the playoffs, yeah, you always have a chance to try to get yourself above the red line. But that cannot be said for LAFC, who, yeah, this is a tough loss from them. And, there's still a question whether or not if this team has enough to get themselves into the playoffs. And especially with the way that, they have been gone without Vela and Rossi for a very long time. Obviously, we know Rossi is not coming back to LAFC, at least not this season with him on loan with Fenerbahce. But there's also the question of when exactly is Vela going to be back, because it's been a while since they have Carlos Vela in the starting 11, and it just feels like they desperately want him to be back if they want to make a push to the playoffs in the latter part of the season. But now, moving on, in terms of the next match. So, with the Quakes, of course, getting the 3 points, Vancouver know that they also have to get themselves 3 points if they want to keep in that race for the playoff position in the Western Conference. And they did exactly that by winning 1-0 against FC Dallas. But in many ways, this was a very ugly win that Vancouver has. And in some way, Dallas should have got at least a point out of this game. Like, they had tons of chances to score at least a goal. They even had a penalty in stoppage time to get themselves the equalizer and salvage themselves a point, and even play some spoilers and spoil Vancouver's chance to get themselves back into the playoff race. But it wasn't meant to be. And as I said, the Whitecaps just was able to escape with a 1-0 victory. Now, in the first half, Mara was able to rob Dahomey from point-blank range before Crépeau was able to deny Obrian, as I thought both teams was getting good chances early in this game. But ultimately, the Whitecaps would be the one that scores the opening goal and what turns out to be the winning goal, as Brian White would score from Tiber to make it 1-0 in favor of the Whitecaps. But then 7 minutes later, Ricardo Pepi tried to tie it up for Dallas, but he hits one straight to Crépeau before Vieira hits one straight to Crépeau also in the 29th minute. And again, Dallas was starting to push for the equalizer, and with the way that, when you have the likes of Pepi and Vieira looking opportunistic in this game, you're thinking at least one of them is going to probably score that goal. And it looked like that was the case for Ricardo Pepi in the 34th minute, but he hits one wide from long range before Nelson absolutely robbed Cavallini on a powerful header. I mean, this was kind of almost against the run of play if the Whitecaps would have scored, because Dallas was kind of controlling the game ever since they got the opening goal. But Nelson has to be on his toe there to rob Cavallini there on, or not Nelson. I'm sorry. Maurer is the one to do. I don't know why I wrote Nelson there. Nelson is the Dynamo goalkeeper. I wrote this very late in the evening, so apologies to that. In fact, I kind of make the same mistake here in the second half too. But either way, Maurer was able to rob Cavallini. Just ignore the fact that I wrote Nelson there. But in the 40th minute, White, I thought he should have scored his second goal. Like, he literally had a free header there in the back post, but somehow he missed that one wide. And and I even kind of wrote as it now, it looks like the Whitecaps was the one that was pushing the next goal after Dallas was trying to push themselves to get the equalizer. But ultimately, we do head to halftime with the Whitecaps hanging on to a 1-0 lead. Now in the second half, they tried to double that lead early as Cavallini was able to head it wide from close range before Gaspard goes for a goal from long range, but he missed wide. And then Maurer was able to deny White from long range in the 54th minute. The Whitecaps was edging closer to try to get that second goal, as I wrote, but I also kind of wrote as the time kind of wind down, it definitely looked like Dallas was the one that was pushing for that late equalizer. And Vancouver, we've seen this before, where late in the game they just decided to drop their lines and almost just try to hold on for dear life, which I guess that might be something you could do if you are just trying to maybe hold on to get all 3 points, but it definitely does not give your fans a really good enjoyment to see your team just kind of hold on for dear life and hope to seize out the 3 points. But in the 81st minute, Fiera then hits one straight to Crépeau before Andy Rose had a crucial block on Pepe's shot, because Ricardo Pepe was ready to strike that one, and if Andy Rose did not get in the way, that one's going to end up in the back of the net. But then in the 3rd minute of stoppage time, this looked like it was the moment for Dallas to finally get the equalizer they deserved, as there was a penalty that was given to them after they did go to VAR to see whether or not if Patrick Metcalf actually brought down O'Brien in the box. He did, so VAR basically awarded a penalty for Dallas. But surprisingly, it's Franco Jara, the one that actually steps up in the penalty spot. And I said this earlier in the Orlando game. I was very surprised seeing Orlando allowing Nani to take the penalty when we know Nani is not a good penalty kick taker. And I'm going to say the same thing with Dallas. I'm surprised they decided to allow Franco Jara to take this penalty. And I have to even make sure whether or not if Ricardo Pepi actually got subbed off in this game. And no, he did not get subbed off in this game. And I know Ricardo Pepi is not usually their penalty kick taker, but Pepi has had these moments where he need to, of course score from the penalty kick shootout. I mean, the most memorable one was the All-Star game, where he, of course, had to come up big to score a big penalty to get the win for MLS over Liga MX. So why in the world did they not do the same thing here? And why do they give it to a guy that clearly has not a lot of confidence right now? And unsurprisingly, the guy that has not a lot of confidence did not convert the penalty. Now, this was still a great save from Crépeau, as he kind of guessed this one right to deny Jara from the spot, but still, I didn't think that was a good penalty from Franco Jara. And he had a chance to redeem himself just 2 minutes later, as he literally he was wide open in the 6 yards area, and all he had to do was just kind of tapped it in, and somehow, in some way, he basically skied it in Rosette. And that just kind of sums up his time with FC Dallas, and just another example of Dallas unable to sign a quality DP. Like, if you talk about the last time that Dallas have signed a designated player that is actually worth the price tag and actually look like a DP kind of player, you have to go back to 2016 when Mauro Diaz was on this team, and that's a guy that I haven't mentioned his name since 2017, because you know why? That's the year when he left FC Dallas, because ever since that they have signed DPs that have just been non-impact to this team. And you can only go as far as Dallas can go with the way that you could still put some good players from your academy, but ultimately you still need those DP players to come up big. And like I said, a lot of these DP that Dallas have signed has just been a huge swing and a miss, and it seems like it's the same case with Franco Jara. But yeah, in the end, Vancouver was able to survive and win 1-0 in this game. As the shots in this one, 19 shots compared to 16 that Dallas had, 5 shots on goal compared to 7 that Dallas had, 11 shots off target compared to 3 that Dallas had, 3 shots that was blocked compared to 6 that Dallas had, and possession-wise, 41% possession compared to 59% possession that Dallas has in this game. And, for Vancouver, like I said, it was a very ugly win, but we're now at this point of the season where you can take whatever wins you want. Like, even if it's ugly, and especially you're in a playoff race, you just take the 3 points and run with it, and just not think about how you almost blew this game late with them giving up the late penalty, and if it wasn't for Franco Hara not in a good form, this could have been easily 1-1 of how this game, of course, ended. But now, moving on into the last game on this board. So, the Timbers, they won 6-1 against RSL. But in many ways, this game was actually closer than what the score line indicated. And the reason why I say that is because I thought RSL had a lot of chances to score more than 1 goal that they had. In fact, this was only a 1-goal game heading into the second half. And even in the second half, when the Timbers were really started to run away and kind of the floodgates open, RSL had a couple of chances to score a goal to make things a little bit interesting, and yet they weren't able to do so. And also Steve Clark making a couple of saves that also kind of helped the ordeal. And in the end, that's where you get the scoreline that we got. Where, I would also kind of say that if there's a quick cliche I can throw in this game, it's basically one team were the more clinical side, and they finish all the chances that they had whenever they go through on goal, and the other team had the similar amount of chances but don't do that, and it's unsurprising they come out not only losing this game but just getting absolutely throttled after this one. But in the first half, just 2 minutes into the game, Luma did have a chance to give the Timbers the early lead, but he struck the post from the header. Before just 2 minutes later, Herrera had a chance to give RSL the lead, but his long-range effort shot that goes high. Ochoa then denied Asprilla in the 11th minute before Herrera also had another opportunity to give RSL the lead, but his shot goes straight to Steve Clark. And again, both teams getting some good chances early in this one, and you would definitely not thought that at this point when I wrote that this game would end up to be a 6-1 scoreline. But just a couple of minutes after I wrote that, Felipe Mora would open the scoreline for the Timbers as he scored from Blanco and Chara to make it 1-0 in favor of Portland. Before 10 minutes later, Darren Asprilla, who has been having an incredible season, and I think it's pretty clear that he has broke that curse where, how he's not allowed to score unless it's October and November. Well, he's basically proving me, and it's kind of sad that those stale meme unfortunately eventually has to come to an end, and it just seems like with Darren Asprilla, although you could maybe say that if he continued to score for the Timbers, maybe that meme continues where you could say, yeah, at least Darren Asprilla, he's going to show up when playoff time is going to come. But yeah, here he scored from Zuperich to make it 2-0 in favor of the Timbers. Not good defending whatsoever from RSL. Like, this was just a simple long ball from Zuperich to Asprilla. And, Asprilla did show some good strength to basically fought off his defender. But if you're RSL, you cannot allow that to happen. And really, anytime when a long ball comes in, and really just a hopeful long ball, and it ends up in the back of net, I have to question the opposition defense, and how in the world did you let that go into the back of net. But thankfully for RSL, they did make up for it, as just 5 minutes later, Damir Krylak, who loved to score against the Portland Timbers, he gets on the score sheet to make this a 1-goal game, and that is the scoreline heading into the second half. And like I said, you would have never guessed it, that heading into halftime and heading into the second half, that this game would have been a 6-1 result at the end of the game. But in the second half, just 2 minutes in, the Timbers restored their 2-goal lead, and it's Jimmy Chara scoring from Sebastian Blanco to make it 3-1 in favor of the Timbers. But just 16 minutes later, RSL had a chance to get one back, but Steve Clark was able to deny Rusnak from close range. Before 5 minutes later, we saw the moment that I always love to see, which is the Chara connection. Diego Chara scoring from Jimmy Chara to make it 4-1 in favor of Portland. And not only the fact that I was so happy to see the Chara connection, but this was just a classic Timbers counterattack. Like, we know that the Portland Timbers are one of the most lethal team on the counterattack. They have been showing this time after time in these past couple of years, and this was just a good example of it. Like, they absolutely just cut RSL apart from this lightning counterattack, and what a better way to see a counterattack that leads to an end because of the fact that both Chara brother get on the score sheet and on the assist chart. But yeah, that made it 4-1 in favor of the Timbers, but like I said, RSL still had a chance to get one back to maybe make things interesting, as Clark was able to deny Rusnak, and then Noah Power had a chance to score the second goal on the follow-up, but he puts that one high from long range. Before the 85th minute, this is when the floodgates open. Well, the floodgates was already open, but it really opened in the latter part of this game, as Niezgoda, who actually, I think according to Jake Zivins in this game, he says that this was his first shot ever since he's come back from a torn ACL injury, and what a way to score your first goal from your first shot coming from injury, as he scored here from Moreno to make it 6-1, or make it 5-1 in favor of RSL. And then in the 88th minute, Paredes would make it 6-1 in favor of, or actually, remember how I said 5-1 in favor of RSL? I mean 5-1 in favor of the Portland Timbers. But just 3 minutes later, when Paredes scored from Larea and Bravo, it would make it 6-1 in favor of the Portland Timbers. And yeah, that would be the final score of this game. But again, when you look at how this game went, it definitely did not look like this was going to end up to be a 6-1 scoreline, and yet this again is just a classic example of what happened when one team was just the more clinical side and the other team, given the same opportunity, unable to put the ball into the back of the net, and as a result you get such a blowout as we saw in this one. Shots in this one, 16 shots compared to 18 that RSL has, 9 shots on goal for both of these teams, 6 shots off target for both of these teams, 1 shot that was blocked for the 3 that RSL had, and possession wise 59% possession compared to 41% possession that the Portland Timbers has. And with this win, the Timbers have now got themselves in the 4th position, although that would depend on whether or not if the Galaxy can potentially beat Austin tonight, and that if they do, the Galaxy will retain that 4th position. But as of now, the Timbers are going to be the last team to at least host one playoff game in this season playoffs. And with how hot that the Timbers had, like I even said back a couple of weeks ago when they beat the Seattle Sounders, I had a feeling the Timbers were going to be red hot, because we seen this happen time after time in a Cascadia derby, where whoever wins the Cascadia derby is going to have a big turnaround and go on a run. And we're seeing it again with the Portland Timbers. They have gone on an incredible run, and right now I think their fans will hope that it will continue into the playoffs, because if that is going to be the case, no one want to play this team when playoff time happened. But for RSL, who were also on a good run, yeah, they're just going to have to brush this one off and just going to have to remind themselves that it's only one game. Like, as bad as this loss it is, it's only one game. They need to recover themselves and hope to try to get 3 points, because like I said, there are a lot of teams behind them that is really want to try to get the spot that they are currently in, which is the last spot to make it to the playoffs out in the West if the playoffs started today. But yeah, there you have it. That is pretty much it for the review of all 10 of this game. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of all 10 of this game. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys like, smash that subscribe button. And as I said, later tonight I will be doing the review of the 3 games that's going to be happening on Sunday. But until then, hope you guys enjoy this video, and I will see you guys next time.